Being a leader is embracing your humanity. Being a leader is understanding that I'm a leader, but I'm still a human being. And when your team sees you be real with how you handle situations or challenges, then they respect you more. It was his death that really kind of galvanized me to say, I don't know how much time I have. Why am I not doing the things that I want to do to really make a difference in this world? So what if we focused on the lessons, not the losses? How different would your life and your work be if you tried? Because if the worst thing that happens is you go back to doing what you were doing, why are we not trying to live our life like it's the most amazing thing ever? You can't be brave unless you're scared. You can't be resilient unless you've had setback. The only thing that defines who you are your actions. And if you're running around like an out of control lion, that will determine your legacy. It's the stories we tell ourselves that define our reality. It's not what happens to us, it's how we choose to respond.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the RK Leadership Podcast, where we empower tomorrow's leaders through the sharing of knowledge, experience, and inspiring stories. I'm your host, Rob Kamranpoor, and today I have a very special guest, Ramsey Bergeron. He's a leadership coach, 8 times Ironman, and he's helping leaders flip stress into sustainable performance. Thank you so much for being on the show, Ramsey. It's great to have you on today.
Well, thank you so much. It's nice to be here. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So you ready to get going?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Awesome. Let's get right into it. So Ramsey, you had such a unique journey from DJ to corporate leadership to coaching and becoming a published author. If you had to pick one defining moment that set you on this path, what would it be?
If I had to pick one moment, it's a pretty pivotal moment. I don't want to bring the show down, but it's a very important one for me. And in 2020, I was a personal trainer. I had my own personal training. Well, I had my own studio. Then COVID hit. I built a gym in my backyard. And in 2020, my best friend passed away. He was 42 years old. He essentially drank himself into a coma, was on a ventilator for over a month. And the hospital let me in to be with him the last 5 hours of his life. And it was really at that moment when I'm like, all right, well, what in the hell am I doing with my life? Like, I wanted to help people in a more profound way. A lot of personal training I recognized was coaching, because everyone knows they need to eat better and move more, but why aren't they? So it was a lot of peeling the layers of the onion back. And it was his death that really kind of galvanized me to say, I don't know how much time I have. Why am I not doing the things that I want to do to really make a difference in this world? So that would be the moment that really launched me to do what I'm doing now.
Amazing. That's awesome. Now, you've been doing this for a while, Ramsey. What do you think it is that makes people go down that dark space where I guess I'd use a lack of discipline to get out of it? How do you help people get through those kind of times?
That's a great question, Robin. Yeah, I want to also point out, I even have those times. I think everyone has those moments of doubt, those negative voices, those gremlins in their head that, whether it's telling them that they can't do it, or that usually it's fear that drives people. So I try to help find an element of their life that they do enjoy. Like, what's a hobby? So Rob, let me ask you, what's a hobby you have outside of work?
Hockey.
Hockey. Okay. Now, you play hockey?
I play hockey.
You're Canadian. I think you have to, right? It's part of the. So if you're playing hockey, like, you play in a rec league, or what do you do?
Yeah, I play in actually it's a roller hockey leagues.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So if you miss a shot, what do you do?
Keep going.
Okay. Right. And what happens if you're worried about what you're going to do after the game? What happens if you're worried about that during the game?
It definitely impacts your mindset during the game for sure.
Yeah. And so how would it feel if you viewed life how you view when you play hockey? So that's usually what I'll ask people. Hey, so tell me what you like to do when you're not at work. And because we all have these stories in our head of, well, it's okay if I'm woodworking and I shave the leg of a table down too far. All right, well, I just get a new leg. But at work, if I do, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And it's like, well, unless you're an open heart surgeon, that's probably not the case. So it's the stories we tell ourselves that define our reality. So I help people realize that it's all right. Well, let's write a different story. It doesn't have to be this negative thing. What if we focused on the lessons, not the losses? How different would your life and your work be if you tried. Because if the worst thing that happens is you go back to doing what you were doing, why are we not trying to live our life like it's the most amazing thing ever?
That's right. That's right. Now, again, for me, I think that mindset, strengthening the mindset, it has to do a lot with it. It's super important. Again, you being, in the health industry as well, and taking care of your health. How is that important for people to understand, even especially what you eat and what you put in your body, what you watch, what you listen to? How does that impact your mind?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Rob. And part of the reason I do take care of my body, my father died when I was 12 years old, and he died from complications from diabetes. So he had both feet amputated, he had gone blind, he was on dialysis 3 times a week, and I didn't want to go out like that. I could have very easily said, well, screw it. Diabetes runs in my family. There's nothing I can really do about it. But all right, well, what is within my control? Um, and so, whenever we talk about what we consume, to your point, right? It's not just what we eat. It's what am I taking in from the media? What am I taking in? Who are the people I surround myself with? What are the activities that I do? What type of energy? I'm a real big believer in energy. Like what energy are we surrounding ourselves with? And the miracles are in the mundane. It's those 1,000 little things a day that matter, right? Like, so if I dumped a glass of water on a stone, it's not going to do anything. But if that same water drips one drip at a time for 30 years, it's going to carve away that rock. So it's understanding just those little choices add up. Those little bits of discipline you incorporate every day really move the needle.
Amazing. Awesome. So, Ramsey, what are some of the things that you do every day in terms of developing certain habits to shape you the way you are?
Appreciate that. Well, wake up. I try to wake up at the same. I guess let me back up because it starts the night before. I try to go to bed around 8 or 8:30 every night to get up around 4:30 in the morning. I live in Arizona, so in the summer, I think 40 Celsius, it's about 100, it could be 120 Fahrenheit here. So you want to get up before the sun comes up if you want to do anything outside. Get up, go exercise. I come home, I journal. So I got it's an intentional journal. So every morning I write down my 3 priorities for the day. What 3 things am I grateful for? What 3 things would make today great? And then I do the same thing at night. I meditate 20 minutes in the morning, and then I start my day. I break my day up into 30-minute blocks, use my little Pomodoro timer right here. I go 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes for me. Um, so I have like 2 hours dedicated for movement, an hour dedicated for mental health, 4 hours dedicated for work. That's
Amazing.
it. And then the rest is me time.
Awesome. That's great. I love the journaling part. I think uh, a lot of people don't understand the concept and the importance of journaling and getting stuff out of your head
Yes.
and onto paper. But I'm glad I've got an alliance and somebody that believes in it as well.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I have this is an intentional journal, but I have freeform journaling too. If I'm struggling with something,
Yeah.
I'll sit and write and write and write and just kind of get different perspectives or write letters to the people that I'm wanting to have conversations with that it probably wouldn't be appropriate to have those conversations in real life with. And just to kind of, yeah, process and help me view things from a different way.
Awesome. That's amazing. So, Ramsey, growing up in a multicultural household between Kuwait, Geneva, and the US, how did it shape your leadership style and perspective on diversity in teams?
That's a great question, Rob. My dad's American and my mom's Palestinian. So, a lot of different cultures, different perspectives in the household. My parents work for the United Nations. So getting to be exposed to different cultures at an early age, I think gave me the understanding that people can view things very differently, and that's okay. Like to be respectful of how somebody else views things. Just because I have a perspective doesn't mean mine is right. And to question everything. Like, why do I believe that? All right, well, what if something else was true? What if they're right and I'm wrong? Like, let me consider that. So I think it helped me be more open-minded to other views and more respectful and tolerant of just other people in general.
Amazing. So, being from that diverse background, and I'm sure when you share your background with people, certain people will say certain things. Everyone's got an opinion. Again, going back to the mindset piece and teaching the younger generation, how do you deal with those kind of adversities or the negative talk that people have that you deal with on maybe on even a regular basis?
Well, I appreciate that because for me, we moved from Switzerland to Arkansas, in the southern U.S., and it was challenging growing up as a half Arab in Arkansas. Like, I was called every name in the book. I won't repeat them on your show here, but it caused me to have a lot of inferiority and feel less than. I felt like very much a second class citizen. Like my feelings or values didn't matter, and it wasn't until an adult and years of therapy later that I really work through that. 50% of our subconscious programming is laid in by the time we're 7 years old. So a lot of times the voices in our head or the things that we think might not even be ours or the voice of our caregivers or what happened to us when we were early on. So I would have people, I guess, depending on who I'm talking to, if I'm talking to people that have kids, our kids experience trauma when they're left alone with their feelings. Like 3 kids can be in the same situation and 2 might not be traumatized by it. And the third is because he doesn't know how to work through or process what's going on.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to talk with the people in your life. And or if you're struggling with something, and Rob, this brings back to our earlier point of why journaling is so important. Because if we're able to process what's happened to us, it has less of an impact, a negative impact, because it's still then in the subconscious if we don't work through it, and it'll bubble up when we least like it to. So that's where the journaling, therapy, just different modalities, whatever works for you, plant medicine, whatever you find can help, or a combination of everything to really be able to help you process what's going on and develop emotional intelligence to understand what it is that you're feeling so that you can articulate it.
That's amazing. And again, going back to what you said about even doing therapy and the importance of just talking to somebody. Now, again, being a man and the stigma around the being strong and not having to deal with certain emotions. What's your message to the men out there? And there's a lot that I know that struggle every day, but I think a part of their ego holds them back from trying to seek help or trying to become better. What's your message to them?
This is a really important thing for me. I spent the majority of my life suppressing my emotions and or raging out in anger. I was a teenager punching holes in the wall at my mom's house because no one explained to me what emotions were. I think that's the issue with a lot of men right now is men seem so angry because they don't know how to express what's really going on. And where there's anger, there's always pain underneath.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself a disservice by not exploring what's under the hood. Um, so this really happened for me. I was doing an Ironman in Norway and my tire exploded at mile 70 and my day was done. And I was furious and I was so angry. I'd flown there to do all this stuff. And it was at that moment that really something clicked for me that I can either be angry and have a flat tire or just have a flat tire. If I didn't start to control how I was feeling, I was going to have a heart attack because my father was an incredibly angry man and I am my father's son. And this is why I turned to meditation and really discovered that if I leaned in and really slowed down and asked myself what I'm feeling, I then have power and control in the situation over how I choose to respond. I am not a slave to my emotion running me. So to all the men out there who think that they have to be strong, uh, part of being strong is recognizing when you're not balanced. Strength comes from control. Strength comes from being centered and grounded and rooted. And if you're operating out of an emotional place, you're not in your rational mind.
Yes.
You may feel like raging is going to help you, but how many of you have done something and then had to make that mea culpa later if I apologize for my behavior? That's not a representation of who I am. The only thing that defines who you are your actions. And if you're running around like an out of control lion, that will determine your legacy. And if you don't want that, who do you want to be? And what kind of man do you want to be? And what kind of example do you want to set for your family, your children, your community?
Absolutely. No, well said. And, when we tie this back to leadership, how important is it for a leader to be able to control those emotions during, stressful times, because your team is literally like watching you all the time, and, they're going to react to how you're acting.
Rob, you could have said it better. As leaders, our team doesn't do what we tell them to do. They do what they see us do.
Yes.
75% of job loss that occurs is due to emotional intelligence components. So it's the inability to manage interpersonal conflicts, to handle stress in times of difficulty, or the inability of leadership to know how to navigate challenge in the workplace. So for leaders, like, think about the leaders that you looked up to when you were younger. What qualities did they have? Are they the ones that were mean, or the ones that ruled with an iron fist, or were they the ones that listened? Were they the ones that knew when to take that step back, let other people step up? Emotional intelligence really is the X factor for successful leadership. And if you're not learning how to embrace that, then you're really doing yourself a disservice and the development of your team. And that's why I do workshops on EQ in the workplace to help people understand that, to help people recognize what is it they're feeling, and that feelings aren't bad. They're just signals. And you cannot control your emotions, but you can control your emotional expression.
Mm.
And I think that's an important one, because if you just say, don't be angry, don't be sad. I make the joke in my keynote. I say, the reason I'm divorced is because saying calm down doesn't work. Like, you can't just control your emotions just like that. It's understanding, wow, I'm really feeling frustrated right now. All right. Well, what do I choose to do about it? What am I frustrated about? Like, really questioning what's going on. Where in my body am I feeling it? Okay. You know what? I'm gonna have to come back to this. I'm really feeling dysregulated. I'm gonna need to just kind of regroup here. So really, as a leader, knowing when to just take that pause before you react, I think that's when we think about the great leaders in history. It's those men and women who were able to lead from a grounded place of integrity and authenticity.
Mm,
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, I think, and this is such a, I love talking about this, because every leader thinks that they have to have all the answers right. Like, my team looks to me, I have to be perfect, I have to be infallible. That's not what a leader is. Being a leader is embracing your humanity. Being a leader is understanding that I'm a leader, but I'm still a human being. And when your team sees you be real with how you handle situations or challenges, then they respect you more. Because if you're always pretending like nothing bothers you, I mean, don't run around with your heart on your sleeve. You have to find that balance. But being able to be authentic and real and navigate and work through stuff and lean on them as a team, that's leadership. Is developing them and being honest with yourself about where you're at.
Absolutely. And, that's very well said. You can try to control your emotions 95% of the time, but it's also good to show certain emotions, you know, when it comes to certain things at work too, because you're a human being and we are all emotional beings. So it's good to show people that you're still a human being and not a robot.
Yeah, agreed. No one likes just the corporate drone who runs around. Like, being passionate and connected with your team. Like,
Yes.
hey, how are you guys doing today? What do you need from me? Like, I love questions like that. Don't Because sometimes when our team comes to us, we think we have to either tell them the answer or do it for them, in which case then we're not doing our job. So I hope a lot of new leaders learn that they don't have to do what they were doing. Because a lot of times people promoted, they were great at their old job, so they get promoted. And now they're here and they don't do this job because no one's trained them how, and they're still doing the job of the people that report up to them. And then so those people under them never learn because they're not doing it, and then you don't have any upward mobility, and you become the bottleneck.
That's right.
So by learning to take a step back and like asking your team, all right, well, what would you do if you were me? Or how can I help? What do you need from me in this situation? Instead of just telling them how to do it, I think that's what makes a good leader, is knowing when to step back, when to ask, and let them learn. Like, when your kid's learning to walk, you're not holding their legs as they're walking down the street. It's like, no, let them walk, let them figure it out.
That's right. Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. And one thing you talk about is combining the leadership and well-being. I'm a big believer of leading yourself before leading other people. That's for me, that's paramount. Why do you believe those two go in hand in hand?
Generally, whenever we try to lead other people, if we're not leading ourselves, then that's control. That's where we're trying to control other people because we're out of control within ourselves.
Yes.
If I can't even control myself, if I can't lead myself, what right or authority do I have to help develop someone else? Because true leadership is development. It's development of your team. And if I'm not developing qualities within myself, then I have no authority or integrity to be able to tell anyone else what to do.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to go to an accountant who pulls up in an El Camino from 1985. Like, I want to go to somebody who's good at that. If I'm a leader, I need to know that I'm capable of leading myself, and my team needs to know that I'm capable of having discipline in my life, that I'm capable of living in integrity with my values, that I know what my values are. And if that's how we change other people, because if they see how you're leading, it's like, wow, I want to be that kind of leader. I want that in my life. That's how people change, is by seeing you be the example of what you expect out of others.
That's right. Absolutely. So, Ramsey, in your book, Cake on the Floor, you emphasize resilience and grace when dealing with life's unexpected moments. Can you share a personal story where you had to put that philosophy into practice?
Sure. And I'll kind of give why that book is called Cake on the Floor, because I was at a wedding about 15 years ago, and the bride went to cut her wedding cake, but the venue didn't lock the legs of that table out all the way. So this 5-tier cake falls all over the floor. And Rob, what do you think she did?
Cried uncontrollably.
Well, she actually started laughing.
Wow. Okay.
And that's why I'm like, wow, what a great response. Because in life, it's not what happens to us, it's how we choose to respond. Because everyone at that wedding remembers the way that the bride laughed, and then everyone laughed at that situation. So, there were situations. I was training for 2 Ironmans in 2012 and 2013 that I had signed up for, one in New Zealand and one in Whistler. And I herniated 3 discs in my back. And I've already had 2 back surgeries. I had my first one at 19. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. Second one at 26. So the doctor said, you can't run. Like, that's it. You're done. And so I was pretty sad and upset that I couldn't do these races. But then I slowed down and I thought about it, because I saw an old man living in the apartment complex I was in at the time, getting out of the swimming pool. And I was like, wow, if he can do that, I wonder if I could still swim. And so I called the doctor and I said, can I still swim? And he said, yeah. I said, well, can I bike ride? He goes, well, yeah, on a tri-bike, it might actually be good for you. I'm like, I can walk, right? And he said, well, yeah. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to go start the races anyway. I'm going to go try it. And if I have to stop, I'll stop. But let me see how far I can get. And I managed to finish both of those Ironmans walking every step of both of those marathons, because I focus on, well, what can I do? What's the story I'm telling myself in my head? Resilience, I look at resilience as the same way I look at bravery. They cannot exist without fear. Like, you can't be brave unless you're scared. You can't be resilient unless you've had setback. So don't look at setback as the defeat, because now you get to be resilient. Now you get to have this skill. So it's all a matter of perspective and framing.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Again, from your experience, what are the most common mindset blocks that holds leaders back, and how do you break through them?
There's a couple. The first is imposter syndrome,
Yes.
where I don't belong here. Why do I have this job? I shouldn't be here. I'm not good at my job. Um, and I also I tell a story about when Carl Sagan went to this event. He had a friend with him, and there were all these politicians and stuff there. And Carl Sagan's friend said, I don't belong here. Like, look at all these people. They're politicians and they're these famous actors. And Carl Sagan turned. His friend was Neil Armstrong, who said, I don't belong here. So we all have felt inferior at some point in our life. And helping people reframe that to say, well, if you're not as good as you would like to be, then let's work. Like, what do you want to, how do we improve it? How do we get better at it? Looking at, again, I focus on the lesson or the loss. If I'm saying I'm not that great at public speaking, or I'd really like to work on my public speaking to be a better speaker. I'm not great at, spreadsheets. Well, I'm going to ask so-and-so's really great at it. I'm going to have them help me out. As a leader, understanding where you can improve, that also shows your team that you're willing to learn and grow, and that you don't pretend to know it all. So it's helpful to just view it with beginner's eyes. Like, I think as adults, we want to think that we have all the answers and we don't like learning new things.
Yes.
And that really is a fixed mindset. And so helping people just try to embrace new things. That's one of the largest things in leadership that I see. One of the other ones is fear. Is this, what if it's not perfect? Perfectionism, I guess, which boils down to fear. Perfectionism as its root is, what if I fail?
Yes.
And I think that's the wrong question to ask. It's, what can I learn? Adam Grant wrote a book, Think Again. And I love that book. And one of the quotes he has in it is, every time he does something wrong, he's excited because now he's as smart as he's ever been. He now knows a wrong way to do something. So really looking at it like, all right, if this doesn't work, what do we learn from that? What can we adapt to do differently about it? Because what happens is we'll either be so scared we don't start, or we're so upset that the outcome wasn't what we wanted that we end up stuck in this loop in our head. I can't believe it went that way. What's wrong with me? And the longer I'm stuck in that loop, I'm no longer in reality. I'm now stuck in the past. I'm stuck in an alternate reality where things should have been different. Well, they're not that way. This is how they are. So helping people see, okay, well, I can understand why you feel that way. What would it look like if you learned, like, took something from this? And then I would go back like the hockey analogy. All right, you missed the shot. Or you're like, oh my gosh, I missed the shot. What's wrong with me? I can't believe I missed it. Or it's like, you know what? I think I moved my wrist a little too quick this way. And next time I know what to do. Great. And now you're moved on from it. So helping people learn to reframe where in their life they can pivot quickly.
That's right. So that's awesome. Now, I asked this question, Ramsey, of a lot of people, and you touch base on that, wanting to be that perfectionism, and getting into that leadership role. Now, there's a lot of organizations that what they do, they take subject matter experts, and because they're really good at what they do, they assume that, oh, you're going to be that natural leader for that department or the area because you know how the work is done. What are your thoughts, and what's your message to those organizations or some of those leaders and the way they think?
So I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth on this because I think there's two different ways to view this. I think expecting someone to be a good sales manager because they were a good salesman
Yes.
isn't necessarily, they don't correlate. It's like this, like my phone's not going to make a good sandwich. Like there's no correlation really between the two. But I don't want to discourage from promoting from within. I think it's very healthy in an organization for people to be rewarded for their hard work and their efforts. I do think that if you're going to do that, you need to help prepare them and train them for the new role. So I would say bring in experts like you or I who know how to help people be able to learn, what does leadership mean? It doesn't mean just hitting your EBITDA. It doesn't mean just comping positive. It means the development of the team. It means knowing how to handle the nuances. Being a leader, you're a coach. Like you're no longer a salesperson, you're a coach. You're coaching the people in your purview to be able to help develop them and find out what type of motivation they need to grow and develop and how you can support them.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Now, if leadership was an endurance race, Ramsey, what training principles would you say leaders must follow to succeed long term?
Oh, this is great. I really appreciate these. These are great questions. I'm sorry, one more time. I was so caught up on how great the question was, I forgot the question.
So, leadership was an endurance race. What training principles would you say leaders must follow to succeed in the long term?
I think there's a great correlation between athletics and leadership because just like exercise, you can't do something once and expect to be great at it. Get the reps in. Like if I went to the gym once and came home and looked in the mirror and I said, well, that didn't do anything. Like with leadership, it's those small daily efforts. It's the journaling. It's the check-ins. It's what do I want to work on? I'm going to set one 25 or 30-minute block a day to focus on this one thing, not to perfect it, just to work at it a little bit. Those little deposits really go a long way. Talking with your team, getting the buy-in from your team, really feeling that connection. Trusting the process. Like you're not going to figure it all out by Friday. I often share, the man who enjoys walking will walk further than the man who enjoys the destination. Do you want to be a great leader, or do you want to learn the skills and how to develop yourself into a great leader? Do you want to manage a successful team, or do you want to learn who you become on the journey to be able to be a great manager of a successful team? So often we want to skip that process. We want to skip the meat of life. And we're racing to the grave. We're racing to these check boxes, but life is that journey. Life is about how you become the leader you were born to be.
Absolutely. Amazing. So, Ramsey, you've facilitated retreats all over the world from Peru to Norway. What's the most powerful transformation you've ever witnessed during those experiences?
Most powerful transformation. I've seen a lot of really great transformations. Um, the greatest one I've seen physically back when I was a personal trainer, someone was training to go with me on this trip to Norway, and he had lost over 90 pounds. So his pack weighed like as much as the weight that he lost to go on this trip. And it was just incredible to watch that sense of watching him cry at Milford Sound after we hiked for 5 days across New Zealand, just knowing what that meant for him meant so much to me. I was working with a leader with a company, and I went to meet him in person. It had all been remote, and he's a big old, big old country boy, like big old friendly, great guy. And he bear hugged me and picked me up off the ground when I met him for the first time.
Mm.
And then like it was a company event, and his wife came up to me a little later at this event they were having. It was a grand opening for a new location, and she had their 1-year-old daughter, and she thanked me for the difference that it made at home. She thanked me for, I'll say his name's Rob. Rob is such a different human being now, and I can't thank you enough. He talks about how much you've helped him. And hearing that, not just because I have clients tell me often that, hey, thank you, this really made a difference, but to hear it from their families, to hear it from like the differences made in their communities, man, that really makes me feel alive. And that really helps me know that the work I'm doing is this is why I'm here. And it's my purpose to be able to help other people realize that you can be the best version of yourself just by changing some of those stories in your head.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ramsey. Now, before we've come to the close to the closing of the podcast, but before we end it, we've come to a segment where I like to call rapid fire questions. I'll ask you some quick questions, and then you give me whatever that comes to mind first.
Okay.
So, what's harder, finishing an Ironman, writing a book, or running a leadership retreat?
Writing a book.
Amazing. If leadership were a song, what would be on your playlist?
Love music. I was a DJ for 20 years, so I gotta narrow it down. Um, Life is a highway.
Mm, amazing. Favorite leadership book?
I want to say The Power of Now, even though it's not really a leadership book. I think it's such an incredible lesson for being present to be Power of Now. I'll go with final answer.
Amazing.
Like rapid fire. I'm ruining your rapid fire. I apologize.
No worries. What's your greatest achievement in life?
Discovering who I am, like just living authentically.
Amazing. What is the one word that describes Ramsey best?
Exemplify.
Amazing. And finally, where can people find you?
In their heart. BergeronWellbeing.com, Bergron wellbeing.com. I am based in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I do travel all over the world. Yeah, find me there. You can also find me, my podcast, which I need to record another episode of, Break Your Ego, Find Your Soul, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. My book, Cake on the Floor, is available on Amazon, and or Ramsey at BergeronWellbeing.com. Drop me a line, shoot me an email.
Amazing. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for being with me here today and, sharing your knowledge and inspiring stories with the rest of the world, Ramsey. And for those out there, if you've got any questions, drop it in the box below and I'll make sure Ramsey gets it, or you can reach out to him directly. And stay tuned for the next episode of the RK Leadership. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Ramsey.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.